For this week's Word of the Week, we're going to take a look at a favorite verse of mine. It allows for a little basic grammar review and looks at a progression of how words change and develop in Greek in the first century. So we're looking at Galatians chapter 5, verse 1, and this is from the ESV. For freedom Christ has set us free. Stand firm, therefore, and do not submit again to a yoke of slavery. So we're going to break it into two parts. The first part says, te eleutheria hemas Christos eleutherosen, or eleutherosen, to be better with my pronunciation. So the word order here is kind of tough for English speakers. Te eleutheria is for freedom in the dative case, the case of the indirect object. Then hemas is the accusative case, plural pronoun, us. Then Christos is the subject in the nominative case, Christ. And then we get our verb, eleutherosen, he set free. He, she, or it set free. So the word order here, as I said, is tough for English speakers. If we think about it, if we look at it this way, so we have first indirect object, direct object, subject, verb. In proper English, quote, proper English, we would expect the subject, then the verb, then the direct object, and then the indirect object, which would look like this. Christ set us free for freedom. That's what we would expect in English, generally speaking, right? Subject, verb, direct object, indirect object. But in Greek, we have what's called the emphatic position, and we get to know what the most important part of the phrase is for the writer. And here, Paul says, it is for freedom that is the most important part. What's the second most important part? Us. So the action of Christ setting free, the thing that Paul wants us to understand is the purpose of that, using the dative case, the indirect object, is for freedom. The purpose of setting us free is for freedom. That's the thing that matters. Stηκετε un kai me palinzugo douleas enekeste. So we get that un in there, that therefore. We always want to see what it's there for. We know that the second part is inextricably linked to the part that went before it, right? So it is for freedom, Christ has set us free. Therefore, in light of that, stηκετε, stand firm. It's in the present tense, keep standing firm. And me palin zugo douleas enekeste, and do not again submit yourself under a yoke of slavery. So in light of Christ's purpose, what was the purpose? For freedom. In light of Christ's purpose for setting us free, we're told keep standing firm, be perpetually vigilant in not allowing yourself to return to a yoke of slavery. Do not palin again yield, submit under a yoke of slavery. So stηκετε is our word of the week. Let's take a good look at it. Stηκετε is in the present active imperative, second person plural, from stηκω. But stηκω is not made up in the sense that it's fake, made up in the sense that we had a word for stand. That word is the verb maeστημι. Maeστημι is a me conjugation verb, like a me, I am. Maeστημι, I stand. Aphiemi, I forgive, I release. Those me conjugation verbs, the verbs that end in that mu iota, me, are verbs that in the post-classical period were being worked out of the language. How so? So here's what happened with this word, stηκω. So the perfect tense form of maeστημι is ἐστηκα. And because they were trying to avoid me conjugation verbs, from ἐστηκα, they sort of made up a new root, στηκω, I stand, in place of maeστημι. So what we get here is the imperative taken not from maeστημι, but taken from stηκω, which was taken from the perfect tense form of maeστημι. I hope that made sense. I know it's convoluted, but we get now stηκετε which is the imperative form from stηκω, which is taken from ἐστηκα, which is taken from ἱστημι. You followed through all that, right? Because the post-classical period is trying to work the me conjugation verbs out of the language. They are confusing and inconsistent with the rest of the verb paradigm. So we get this new word, stηκω, from which we get our word of the week, στηετε. Στηετε, keep standing firm. Why should you keep standing firm and not allow yourself to again go under a yoke of slavery? Because it is for freedom that Christ set you free. The purpose of setting you free was freedom. Freedom for freedom's sake. You're intended to remain free. Don't allow yourself again to wear the yoke, the zugo of slavery. Don't go back into bondage. That would be like the Israelites saying to Moses, we were fat and happy in slavery, take us back to Egypt so we can have full bellies again. Don't go back. Στηετε, continually stand firm. That's our word of the week. Hope it was good for you, and if so, charis kairene humin, grace and peace to you, but more than that, στηετε, keep standing firm.